Right, well, we've got some people still joining us, but we'll start the general housekeeping first. We're going to be online for 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how many people join us and what kind of questions that we get. This is important to make sure that you're hydrated. You'll see me moving around. I'm not wiggling on a chair. I'm actually standing up at a desk. So you will see me moving. You will see me taking a sip of tea or some honey and lemon to keep my voice going as well. It's important that you do the same. Going to be covering things fairly quickly, and it's really important that you take some notes. So make sure you've got pen, paper, lots of opportunity to take some notes. Hi, Diana. Diana's just joined us. So you can take plenty of notes. If you need to take a comfort break at any point, that's fine. Don't worry. We can't see you. That's not a problem. And I will be taking people off of mute. I don't plan on exposing anybody on video, just in case somebody's sat there in their gym jams. But what I will be doing is taking people off mute. As I mentioned before some of us joined, we're going to use the questions and answers box to raise any questions. So if you have things that you want me to talk about in this session, then it's important that you put them in the questions box. If you want to get my attention, just raise your hand. I've got the participants box up here, just slightly out of the way. As you can see, this is not death by PowerPoint. We're going to cover off some topics in the weeks ahead. This is the first of 6 weeks. So in the weeks ahead, we are going to put a little bit more structure to it, but not at the moment. Okay, looks like we've just about settled down on people who are joining. If you've got any phones, turn them off on silent. I'm going to do that with mine now. Just bear with me a second. There we go. Uh-oh, stop me being a distraction as well. Okay, welcome everyone to today's Crisis Productivity Program webinar. That's not something you say very easily. And this is a series of 6 webinars that have been put together by the productivity program, which of course is funded and supported by the University of Lincoln. Thanks also to the ERDF funding and Midlands Engine as well for allowing us to put this on. And this series is really a reaction to the change in circumstances and the crisis that we all are incurring at the moment. And I think all of us without exception are being affected by this. The program webinar is going to be really 2 parts. And I'm going to scatter that around a little bit today, but it's going to be giving you some good educational content, giving you some tips, giving you some things to think about. You will have noticed in the registration email that went out, we are going to be talking about certain aspects of this, and we're going to be covering some of those today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and mix it up so we have perhaps 10 or 15 minutes on a topic, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. So if there's a question that you want to ask, if there's something that you're worried about, if there's something you want just to bounce around, then please ask it in this session. It will be first come, first served. We've got 18 people on this session so far. So it's really important that you get your questions in there first. So make sure you're typing in your questions now. Think about things that you want to ask. There might be some things that come up as we're talking. There might be things that you want to share. If there's an answer that you've got, if there's a latest update that you've seen, I've been on these sessions all day long so far, so I've not actually seen much of what's happening since about 6 o'clock this morning. So if you've got something you can share, please do that. It's about being here to help each other. And of course, the program is about productivity. And the important thing that I want us all to realize is that we will get through this by being productive. And when we come out of this crisis, whenever that is, and please don't ask me the question when I think all this is going to be over. You might not like the answer. But when we do come out of this, and when some of us that are starting to get into thrive mode, because there certainly are companies that are thriving at the moment, when we get into that mode, it's important that we're efficient, that we're productive, that we're lean, and we're able to make the most of the opportunity that we come out of. So just bear a second. Don't take me off mute. I'm on lockdown now. Yeah, fine. Thanks, Diana, for sharing that. Okay. Yes. So if you don't want to be taken off of mute, please let me know. But as you ask questions, you can still ask questions, and I'll still go through those questions. And I'll take you off mute if you want to talk through it. If not, then we'll just go through the answers. So thanks, Diana, for just letting me know that if some people don't want to be taken off mute because you've got background noise, relatives that you're looking after, dogs in the background. I had somebody with a dog jumping all over them just before I joined this about half an hour ago. So I think Charlotte's on here as well. So good to have you here, Charlotte, as well. Okay, we'll make a start. A little bit about what I'm going to do and what we're going to cover in each of these sessions. So I am a coach. I'm not a consultant. I'm a business coach, and I have 3 responsibilities to make sure I deliver in each and every single one of these sessions. They're going to be the same time, same day, each week for the next 6 weeks. The first one is awareness. I want to help you be aware of the possibilities in your business. I want to educate you, secondly, in business building best practices. I say, as we're going to come out of this, we need to be productive. We need to be efficient. We need to be the best that we can be as we come out of this, and to survive it as well. So some education on that. And lastly, I'm going to hold people accountable. So I want each of you to, as you're going through writing your notes, I want each of you to start writing some actions down. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sending an email out to the people who attend to let me know what actions you've agreed, what actions you've set yourself to actually complete in the next week or so ahead. Now, I know things are going to change and climate's changing all the time, but I really want you to be accountable for getting things done. I've just got a note here. We've had about 10 businesses that have not had the link. I think that's you, Charlotte. What you can do is you can send them that guest link that I emailed through to you. So if they're not able to get on, they can get the guest link. So let me just, I'm just going to type this into the chat box to here. Right, so if you know of anybody who, well, let me just work that out. I can't send it across. But Charlotte, if you're listening, those who haven't got the link, if you can send them to the guest link, what I'll do, I can't send the email and do this at the same time. So I'll have to trust that you can find the email and send that guest link out to them that we had in exchange the other day. Other than that, what you can do, sorry everybody, while we just sort this out, I'm just going to send Charlotte an email. You can send them a direct invite. So those that are saying they haven't got the link or can't get on, send them this email that I'm just forwarding to you now. Okay, we've got a few more people joining us. Just to remind, Edward, who's just joined us, Ian as well. Anything that you want to ask, anything that you want to talk through, put it into the questions and answers box. Make sure you're hydrated and put your hand up if you want to get my attention. That would be great. Just make sure you can all find the Q&A box and that you can put your hand up on the little icon there as well. So that's good. 3 things: awareness, education, accountability. Some of you might be asking, who am I? Some of you know me. I know I've got a couple of clients. Alan from Evans McDowell is a client of mine in there. Zoe and Diana, you've known me for some time. But I just want to share a little bit about my background and why I am holding these webinars. The first thing is that this kind of technology, doing webinars, I've delivered these as part of my coaching business for a number of years. So this is something I'm very used to doing. I don't have a team in the background. I'm juggling all these things all at the same time. But that's one of the reasons. One of the other reasons, I think the main reason, is that I've been a business coach now since 2009. And I became a coach because I sold off my businesses at the start of the recession in 2008, 2009. And before that, I had various businesses, construction company. I was the UK's first importer of Canadian hot tubs. But I've been working now for quite some time, and I've actually gone through 3 recessions. When I first started work in 1984, we were just coming out of the 80s recession, which actually was quite a deep recession. The 90s wasn't too bad, but of course then we had the really hard recession of 2009. So I've already been through, in my own businesses and in people that I've worked with before in the early 80s, not something like this, because I think this is quite unique, but I have been through recessions, I have been through times of trouble. And what I do see is that the people who come out of this, the people that not only survive, but the people that thrive, are the people that make the most of the opportunities that are ahead of them. It might not feel like that now, but they make the most of the opportunities. They look to change, they look to do things differently, because one thing I can assure you, if you keep doing the same thing that you did before, when all this finishes, then you're going to struggle. You know, the harsh reality is that change is going to happen whether you like it or not. And if you embrace it, you'll do well. If you resist change or deny change, then you're really going to struggle. Okay. Obviously, I love reading, I love learning things, and there's lots of things that I'm going to be sharing with you as somebody who is very passionate about self-growth. I've got lots of books, lots of things behind me. This isn't a green screen, this is actually my bookcase that's behind me. Lots of resources, lots of business best practices that I subscribe to that I'm going to be sharing with you as well. So don't feel that there's a question that you can't ask. If I can't answer it today, then I certainly know somebody. I've got a network of over 1,200 coaches, and I work and coach other coaches as well. So there's not anything that I don't feel that you can ask that I won't be able to find an answer for. I'm also an advisor to the agents at the Bank of England locally. And also I have strong links with some of the banks and some of the other advisors out there, HR, etc. So it's not always me that has the answers, but certainly I can have a lot of the questions posed to other people. Okay, Paul, you've just put something in the chat list. One thing I just want to remind, because we've had a lot more people just join, please use the questions and answers box, because that will just allow me to monitor that a little bit easier and see the priority in which people are asking the questions. But Paul, that's a really good question. I will get to that very shortly. Okay, during these sessions, we are actually going to do 3 steps. Not particularly today. I'm not going to cover more today, so don't worry. But we are going to talk about clarifying your vision and your goals. I learnt whilst riding a motorbike round racetracks. I used to run a British Superbike team many years ago, which some people might not know about me. But one of the things I know from racing a bike round tracks is that you don't look at where you are, you look where you want to go. Because if you see a guy waving a yellow flag and you don't want to go towards him, take your eyes off him. Because if you look at the guy waving the yellow flag, that's where your motorbike's going to end up going. So we will arrive and we will head towards where we're looking. So it's really important that we clarify our vision and our goals. And that might feel really difficult at the moment, but it's really important that we do that. I've got a few more people just joining us now. So please use the questions and answers box to ask any questions, and just let me know where you're from, which town, which village are you in. That'd be great. For those of you who have not done that already, that will let me know that you can hear me and that you can see me okay. We're up to 30 people on here now. So this is going to be really exciting. First questions in are the first questions that get answered. If you run out of time, put them in there anyway, because what I'm probably going to do is anybody who puts any questions in there that I don't get time to answer, I'll probably reach out to you individually or make sure I cover them off next time. Step 2, we're going to put together a strategic plan. We're going to look about putting a plan together that will help you be productive, that will help you be efficient in the delivery of that plan. Okay, so we're going to complete a strategic plan. Some of you might already have a plan. That's great, but we're just going to, adapt it. We're going to check in and make sure it's a plan that's keeping you on track. Chris, thanks for saying you're in Spalding. Again, if you can use the Q&A list, that would be really useful. Just helps me looking at 4 or 5 different places. And as I mentioned right at the beginning, before we started, the other thing we're going to do is make sure that we're involved in each of these sessions, and that as any coach would, and that's the best image I could find at short notice for coaching, but you know, as any coach would, what I want to do is hold you accountable to get things done. So I can't see you, I don't know many of you, but as you write down your notes, as you take notes, make sure that you're highlighting them, make sure you're circling them, and make sure that when you put some actions down there, that you hold yourself accountable to those. And I will be dropping each of you an email to ask you to reply back with what your actions are, so that we can make sure that we're keeping you on track. Okay, before I move on to the next slide, I've talked enough about me and what we're going to do. So I'm just going to close off any questions. So Mariah has said, don't take me off mute. That's fine. I appreciate that. Can I just forward my email? Julie, if you've got something that you want to ask, the only problem is I'm not checking my emails. I've switched them off so they don't pop up in front of the screen. So if anybody is emailing me, unfortunately, I can't see those emails at the moment. So you can copy and paste it into the questions by all means. I will try and get time to look at it if I can later on. That's good. Joe Barnes has just said care for all, social care organisation operating in North East Links. So that's good. I'm just going to clear these off as we go through. I will check emails later. Neil, Electric Egg based in Think Tank, but remotely at present, as well as the rest of the team. Absolutely. Okay, questions. Paul put one in the chat box earlier on. So what I will do is answer Paul's question first. Please, use the questions box. If there's any burning questions that you've got, ask the questions there. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll answer the questions that I've got, and then we'll move on to the next topic area. So Paul asked the question, is it best to furlong or lay off staff? Now, as you can imagine, I've had lots of calls about this. At the end of the day, and I don't want to avoid the question, but it is down to each of you to make a decision. If your staff are people that you want to keep, then of course, if by looking after them and paying their wages, because bear in mind, you've got to pay the wages to be able to claim it back. So the key thing, as I said to somebody earlier on, what they didn't realize is they thought they would put their wages that they're going to pay into the government system. They would get the grant, and then they would use that to pay the wages. Now, at the moment, as I saw it last time I looked, that's not going to be the case. So my first thing that you need to think about, Paul, is affordability. Okay, because what you need to think about is you are going to pay your staff, you're going to pay them what they normally get, or you're going to pay them an amount that you agree with them, and you've got to refer to contracts about that. But whatever you pay them, what you're then going to do is you're going to put that in front of the government through a portal that they're setting up at the moment. You'll go in there, you will request the grant, you'll put the amounts that you've paid your staff. I'm sure there'll be some evidence requirements, wage slips and things like that. And then you will get a grant of 80% of that back. Now, at the moment, I suspect that you're going to get that back fairly quickly. My sources yesterday were saying it could be up to 28 days. So if you pay people monthly, you've got to pay them, and then you've got to wait another month to get the money from the government, perhaps. Okay, I think that will get quicker, and I think they'll pull their finger out once they get the system working. So the first question, Paul, is can I afford to pay people and then wait for the money back? And can I afford to pay people and then stand that 20% of their wage myself? Okay, That's the first question. That's the most important thing for me. It's the affordability to the business. The second thing then is, who do you want to fill on and who do you want to lay off? I was talking to another client first thing this morning, and they've made probably about 10% of their business redundant straight away. And they're doing that to get rid of the dead wood. They're doing that to get rid of the people that they are not happy with, and clear that out. Then they've sent some people home on paid leave for a short while, because people have got a lot of holiday. They're well into their holiday year, so they've sent people off on paid leave, but on the express instruction that they can't then take holiday when they come back to work. The last thing we want to do is get out of this and then come August, September, suddenly had everybody going off on 2-3 weeks holiday. So you can do paid leave, you can do unpaid leave, or you can lay people off. All of those have different connotations and obviously different costs. The furlonging request is really about employee retention. I'm just going to see if I can share a different screen here. Just bear with me a second. Sure it's the right one. Just bear with me. Yeah, so the idea is with this scheme, it's actually called the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme. Okay, so this is about keeping hold of those people that you want to look after. This is about keeping hold of those people that you want to make sure are going to be there afterwards. Okay, this website that hopefully you can see there is a great website. It's www.gov.uk/government. I know there's lots of forward slashes, publications, guidance to employers and businesses about COVID-19. And then you go through COVID-19 for businesses. So what I will do is I'll let all of you have this link. But what this does, it puts lots of different supports. It talks about VAT, income tax. Here it tells you to cancel all of your VAT direct debits, your income tax direct debits. It talks about sick pay. So there's lots of things that you can access through this site, and this is being updated all the time. Okay, I get an email telling me when this is being updated, and it's probably on its third update already today. Okay, so hopefully that, Paul, answers that question a little bit more. Work on affordability, work on other options that might actually be more beneficial. Can you get people to take holiday leave that they perhaps already have accrued, that you're going to pay them anyway? You know, and as for laying people off, there is no expectation or requirement to pay people this 80% of their wages. You know, you can lay people off, you can send them home, and you can send them home without pay, as Virgin did. They asked everybody to take 8 weeks unpaid leave. But what you should do is do what's right for your business and what it can afford. Okay, Paul, if you want to put your hand up, and if you want to come off of mute, I'll happily unmute you so that you can take yourself off there. Let's see if I can find you on here. Is there anything that you wanted to ask? If you just put your little hand up there. Yeah, okay. So if you just want to unmute yourself, Paul. If you're able to find the unmute button. Right. There you go. You should be able to do it now.
Right, found it.
You've got it. Got it, Paul.
Couldn't find it before.
Yeah. Did that help, or is there anything else you want to ask? Because this is a really hot topic that people are asking about at the moment, and obviously it's evolving. But that's the best circumstances that I can give you at the moment.
Yeah, it's very awkward as such. I mean, I've got 7 staff, and it was the question of whether to just keep 2 of them on reduced hours and lay off the rest, because whilst I've just paid wages for this month, it's going to put me into the overdraft or possible needing to look at other stuff, depending on whether customers actually pay us on time, because that's the other issue. Whilst for the next month, it's possibly all right as long as customers keep paying us, but we're not generating any more income for the next 30 days, then in the 30 days after that, I've still got to pay the wages. Where does that money come from?
Yeah,
that's the balancing act.
Yeah, and that is the problem. I mean, my understanding is that if you say you're going to do it, so the first thing you can do is you can announce to people that you're going to, put them on for long wages, and there is a particular statement that you can do, and that is something that people can get from their accountants as well. The thing is, if you say you're going to do it and you start doing it and the business starts to struggle, you can stop it. So, this is purely at the discretion of the business. And obviously there might be other criteria that start to come out of that. But the most important thing is know your finances, know what you can afford, plan for somewhere in the middle between the absolute worst and the absolute best it can be, and know your finances, really. And the final thing I would say is talk to them. Because some people might be able to take, unpaid leave. Some people, might be more easy to cope with things like that than others. And I would never make a judgment, because I've had some people who I thought were quite confident and quite wealthy within themselves, financially able to look after themselves. And then when you pull the wage rug from underneath them, they're the worst ones. So talk to people, know your finances, do the plan, and make sure that you are talking to people.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
But do what's right for the business, Paul. That's the most important thing. And I know that's a bit harsh, but at the end of the day, the way that you can best help any of the staff that you do retain and you do keep on is to be here at the end of this. Suddenly going pop and everybody being made redundant is not going to help anybody, really.
No, that's what obviously all of us are trying to avoid that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the other thing to do as well is, of course, we'll talk about this perhaps some other time if anybody's got the question, but it's to look at other ways that you can pull funding in. If you're confident that by paying those wages, you're going to be able to get through it and that the clients are going to be there. For example, I've got a client who works for schools. He knows that the schools are still going to be there. Okay, he doesn't know when they're going to be back, but he knows they're going to be there. So he's more confident to go out and get business finance because he knows that his clients are still going to be there. And it's just being more proactive with the planning and having a look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask on that, Paul, or have we covered that off?
No, that's fine. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I'm just going to mute you back up if that's okay. Has anybody got anything else that they want to ask on that particular topic? I know I see a few people have unmuted themselves, but does anybody else want to ask anything or say anything? Has anybody got any more information? We've got a few accountants actually on this. Does anybody know anything different or got any other advice or suggestions that might be able to help Paul and other people that are on the call? This is where you take yourself off mute, but you've all gone quiet. Ian,
Yes, sorry, I have some information.
Kate, yes.
Yes, we work for the Greater Lincolnshire Local Enterprise Partnership.
Yep. And
they have a brand new local helpline, a COVID-19 helpline for businesses to call.
Great.
It's open from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. and you just need to ring the number and choose option 3 for business support.
Right, great.
And hopefully there'll be someone on the line to speak to you. I can give you that number now.
Yeah, if people want to take note of this, please read it out. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's 01522.
Yeah.
782 189.
Can you just repeat that for everybody again, please?
Yes, 01522.
Yep.
782 189.
189. Fantastic.
I've emailed it to you as well.
Great, thank you, appreciate that, and a big thank you as well for pushing out this. I know it's been a bit last minute for everybody to get notified about this webinar, but I think testament to you and your team the fact that this has had so many registrations so quickly, within 24 hours. So well done. Yeah, I've not had experience of your business in the past. We've come across each other networking, other things, but yeah, so
Yes.
well done. I really do appreciate it, as I'm
Thank you
sure
very
the
much,
program
Nick.
do as well. Okay, so Ian, you've got your hand up. Is there anything you want to add to that, or to? So I'm just going to mute you back up, Kate, if that's okay. Ian, anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah, hear you
Yeah,
fine.
great. Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot for doing this. The question I wanted to ask is, if you're forced to lay someone off,
Yeah.
obviously normally you'd have to go through it by way of, an HR meeting and really follow the the due process.
Yeah.
In these circumstances, if you needed to lay someone off, is that relaxed? Is there do you still need to go through that process? Because if I'm being honest, I think most businesses could probably point to one or two people who, don't give 100%. And at this time, maybe they're possibly the people you might want to look to first without being too mercenary about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my guidance, based upon the HR people that I've talked to, is that you should still, wherever you can, follow the processes and the requirements of your contracts, but you can shortcut things. So it's about doing things in very short periods. At the moment, I was talking to Barclays Bank the other day, and she said they're having a meeting every 2 hours to keep up to date with things. It's the same with your team. If you're going to do this and you're going to lay people off, or you're going to select people, some to stay, some to be sort of furlough, it's about putting it into a very short space of time. It's about making decisions very quickly. And I think wherever you possibly can, you should make sure that you're talking to people and you're doing it in a way that follows any procedures and policies that you've got. My off-the-record response would be that, generally things are going to be relaxed, and you are going to have a lot more leeway to make different decisions, because we are in a crisis and decisions are going to be different. But you must also make sure that you're not breaching any legislations, any laws, any regulations, because we saw this with Sports Direct just yesterday, when all their employees started whistleblowing on them about how they were hiking their prices up. So the last thing you want are people that have worked for you starting to whistleblow on you, or to go to ACAS, because when all this comes about, they could still go and say we weren't treated fairly. So, as long as you're not breaching anything, and as long as you're not doing anything illegal or improper, then I think you'll be fine. It'll be fairly relaxed. But wherever you can, try and follow your procedures. But I've done it in the past. Back in 2009, I went through a similar process, and we did a whole redundancy process in half a day. We didn't do all the different meetings. We literally held everybody en masse. We did a meeting, we sent them out, we let them come back for any questions, and we did everything in half a day. So it's about making it fit in the time gap. Does that sort of help, Ian?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thanks very much for that.
Yeah, but check your documents first. And if you have got HR advice, either through the chamber, through the FSB, or some way direct, I'm sure they're rushed off their feet at the moment, but it is worth just speaking to them and saying, I'm going to do this. Is that okay?
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Neil's asked a question here. This is an interesting one. I'll just mute you back up here if that's okay. Neil's asked an interesting question here. Can you furlough for a single month, then bring them back, even if it's still in the middle of this period of remote working? Yes, is the easy answer to that. So the whole sort of furlough process means that you have zero work for them. So you can furlough people for a period of time, and then if suddenly you get work that comes in, you can bring them back. Absolutely you can. At the end of the day, this is exactly what this process is for. It's about making sure that you are looking after your staff, so that when business does pick up, they're there ready on coat hangers to get back to work. So yes, you can definitely do that. Did you want to have a talk about it, Neil? If you want to put your hand up, and I'll take you off mute if you like. Yep, great. Okay, I'll just take you off mute. There you go, Neil. Yeah. Any other detail, anything else you want to ask on that? Should be able to hear you. Okay. Perhaps we can't hear you, Neil. The joys of webinars. Neil, if you've got or if you're struggling with your audio, just check that you've got the right audio setting, the right device setting plugged in at the side. There's a little microphone with a drop down arrow at the side of it. If you do that, you'll make sure you're using the right device. And if you do find it, then please jump in and interrupt. Okay, so while we're just waiting for Neil, please keep answering the questions that other people are putting up there. If there's anything that you want to share, please share it. And if there's anything else you want to ask, please put that in there as well in the Q&A box. That would be great. I'm just going to mute Neil up until he sorts himself out there. Yeah, great. One of the things that was on the email that I sent out, and this is the first thing, and I'll read the comments that I put on here, is how the coronavirus will impact small to mid-sized businesses around the world and how to get ready for the next 6 to 12 months. Okay. Two aspects of that. The first thing is you've got to look at your supply chain and your clients. Okay. You need to make sure that you're fully aware of people that are coming into this crisis and people who are coming out of it. Now, I don't know how many of us here deal internationally. Yeah, I've got clients in South Africa, in America, in Israel, and for some it's getting deeper, depends on which part of the States you're in, and for some it's getting easier. So from a point of view of doing business, keep an eye on your suppliers, keep an eye on your clients, and see how it's affecting them. Communicate with them, talk to them, find out how it's affecting them. Okay. In times of a crisis, communication and more communication is absolutely critical. So if you think you're annoying them, don't worry about it. They'll tell you when you are. Communicate with people more. The other side of this that I wanted to get over in our time together today is the fact that this is going to have an impact for a significant amount of time. Now, we might be out of lockdown quicker. We might be obviously starting to come out of the economic side of it for some of us, but the impact on customer confidence, on public confidence, on interest rates. I mean, my contact at the Bank of England is saying that the interest rates are unlikely to go up or change significantly for another 18 months. So, don't be afraid that this is going to be a 0.1%, and then as soon as we come out of it in 3 months' time, it's suddenly going to go up. And I'm not suggesting we are going to come out in 3 months' time. I'll just make that clear. But it is going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact that you've got to be ready for. So when you're looking at any plans, as we were just talking about there, when you're talking about any plans at all, whether it be plans for getting finance, plans for monitoring your own cash flow, the Bank of England and the government changed that interest-free from 6 months to 12 months. And for me, they did that for a reason, that they expect businesses to be affected for that period of time. Now, when I spoke to one of the banks the other day, they said that they've been instructed to do two things. One, to look after their existing clients and not to use this as an opportunity for getting new ones, which I thought was quite good. But number two, what they're looking for is they're looking at businesses that were good in 2019 and helping them to be good in 2021. So when you're doing figures for any kind of loans or lending or overdrafts, what they want to see is, what did you look like last year? Because obviously 2020 is a bit distorted at the moment. What did you look like in 2019? And what are you going to look like in 2021? That's what they're interested in. So the impact, certainly you have all got to be aware, whether that's a positive impact. As I know people are thriving. I've got some clients that are doing exceptionally well. They're rushed off their feet at the moment. servicing ambulances and doing all, helping out with everything that they can, but doing it in a business way. Whatever the impact is going to be, you need to be aware and don't be naive to think that this is something that is suddenly going to turn around. And I think we're all aware of that now, but this is going to be 12 months. There might be a turnaround within 6 months, but the impact on the business is certainly going to be lasting 12 months. Everybody accepts that. The bank accepts that. The government are planning for it, and you need to plan for it as well. So that's the first thing that I wanted to get over to people on this. Zoe's asked a question here. Can you follow someone more than once? That's an interesting question. Just before I answer that, I'm just going to check that Neil.
I'm here now.
You're there. Yeah.
Sorry.
I could see your hand keep flashing up.
So I think it's along the lines of what you mentioned. So we do video animation and photography, and obviously all our on-site work has just disappeared. Fortunately, we've spent a lot this year trying to get a lot more animation work in, which means me and the animation team are very busy for a few months, and obviously that's work we can continue to do during this period. We're all working remote and it's going really well in that regard. But the people in the video team, who the vast majority of their work is going on site, doing some work, bringing it back and then working, quite a lot of what we had planned for the next 2-3 months has just suddenly disappeared. So that's why we're kind of looking at that process as to, but it might be that something comes in and we can bring them into that project. So we are wanting to keep all our team because they're fantastic, but it's just lessening that impact. If you're halfway through, if you pay people monthly and you're halfway through the month, bear in mind that this furlough payment is for money that you have paid. Mm-hmm.
So if people are sat at home for the next month, and give you an example, I've got a new client. Actually, I've just signed up earlier on, because we all pick up new clients in these times, but pick somebody up. They are looking at 1st of April, putting everybody onto flow because their month end is the 31st of March. So they will put people onto that. Those people will sit at home for the month. They'll do the next pay run on the 1st of May. At that point, as far as I understand it, and as far as is right at the moment, they will run their payroll. They will pay the people. They will go onto the government website. They will fill out the application, and they will get the grant. Now, if something changes in that month, what you, as far as I'm aware, will be able to do is if they were just, furloughed for 2 weeks out of the 4, then you'll only ask for 80% of those 2 weeks.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay, so you'll be able to be flexible and do that, and that's what it's about. It's about having people sat on coat hangers. They're ready for when things picked up. An interesting question, Neil, that somebody mentioned earlier on in a session the other day. They pay their people monthly, so to actually pay a whole month's worth of wages out is going to be hard to then reclaim it back. So they asked the question, should they go to paying people weekly? Because if you're paying people weekly, you pay the week, you go on, you claim the money. So you're actually getting more regular money back. I couldn't answer it properly, and I still can't, because I don't know if the payments from the government are still going to be monthly. I don't know if the government are going to pay weekly. But one of the things in your instance, Neil, might be worth doing, I don't know how you do pay them monthly or weekly.
Monthly at the moment.
Paying them weekly might be an alternative, because then you can take it week by week rather than month by month. But as far as I'm aware at the moment, even if you do it monthly, halfway through the month, you should be able to stop the flow and pull them out, pay them their normal money, and just claim the payment for the time that they've been off.
Brilliant, that's really helpful. Thank you very much. And you mentioned that you can follow them for like say a month and then bring them back and then follow them again if, like you say, this is going to be 12 months.
That's the question that that's the question Zoe's asked. Can you put them onto flow more than once? That is unclear at the moment completely. I think you've got to be careful that we assume that we can send them home for a month, then we'll give them 2 weeks worth of work, and then we'll do it again. I suspect that once you pull them off of that furlough period, then you're not going to be able to put them back onto it. I would suspect that. That's not been confirmed yet, but I would suspect that that's the case. And that answers Zoe's question there. I don't think you'll be able to do it more than once, but that could change. But at the moment, that is one thing that is completely not being clarified at all.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for your.
Keep an eye on that web page that I'll send around, because that's where that detail is being updated, and that's where you'll certainly get more information on that. Okay, so answered Zoe's questions. Okay. Yeah, so Joe has put a question here. So I'm playing catch up here, as I've had to focus on operational deliveries. We have a couple of staff who have significant underlying health conditions, so they must self-isolate for 12 weeks. I've kept them on full pay. Can I claim 80% of their salary back? Oh, now there's an interesting one. Ian's just put there, he's heard that you can dip in and out of furloughing with individuals. Yeah, I think that's the rumour, and that could very easily go that way, but I'm not 100% sure that that's what's going to be allowed. And I think there will be a deadline. That's the other thing with this furloughing. I think there'll be a deadline by which to say, okay, that now stops. People should either be working or ill or laid off, and there will be a point where that stops. So how long that'll be. So I don't think it's going to be something that you're going to be able to do for a continuous period, but who knows how long this is going to carry on for. So Joe, do you want to just put your hand up if you're happy to be taken off of mute, and we can have a talk about that, because that's a really important question. And of course, all of this is about keeping productivity going. If you've got services that you should still keep supplying to your clients, then you need to make sure you can do that. And the other thing, when you're making those kind of decisions about who goes home and who doesn't, that's okay, Joe, what you need to think about is how productive are the people? How productive are the people that you're sending home? And just because they're the last person that joined you doesn't mean that they shouldn't be the person that you keep on the furlough scheme. Make sure, this goes back to Paul's question, how do you decide? Make sure that what you do is you keep the people who are the best people for you, who are the best, not just people that you like, not just the people that have been with you the longest, but they're the best people that you want to keep to help your business be productive when you come out of this. Or even if you're doing well and you're thriving at the moment, keep those people who keep you at the top of your game. That's absolutely key. So Joe said here, we've had a couple of staff who have significant underlying health conditions, so they must self-isolate for 12 weeks. I've kept them on full pay. Can I claim the 80% of their salary back? Now, my understanding of that, Joe, is that if they have underlying health conditions and they've self-isolated, what they are entitled to is SSP. And in doing that, because they're self-isolating, they need to go on the NHS 111 website and fill out the isolation note. If you Google NHS 111 isolation note, they should fill that out. As far as I'm aware, from the detail that I've seen, they are either on SSP or they're unable to work. So if they're shielded people and they've had the letter, it's going to be very difficult for you to say that I sent them home because I've had no work, and you have to justify that you have no work for them. So claiming the 80% of their salary back, if you're paying them on full pay, if contractually wise, you're supposed to be doing that, and then obviously that's the right thing to do, so check your contract, but don't do it because you think you can get 80% of it back. The likelihood is that it will be difficult to claim that 80% of their salary back on that basis. Again, there's lots of different criteria, so it's worth checking. But whatever you do, if anybody on this call has anybody that is sick, that the regulations are quite clear again on that website. It's SSP. It's obviously send them home with nothing, or you continue to pay their wage and you claim 80% of it back through the staff retention scheme. Okay, you can't mix people across those three bands. So be careful what you declare, be careful what they declare. If they have underlying health conditions and they have been sent a shield letter, I suspect that it's SSP, and what will happen is you will split the payment that you make to them, and you'll be able to claim the SSP back from the government, and you should do that. But you might not be able to claim the 80% of their salary back, and you certainly won't be able to do both. So I know you haven't got a microphone, but hopefully that helps. Just type in there if that's helped at all. And again, happy to take that offline a little bit to get more detail on that. That's something I can certainly get more detail on later on. Just drop me an email to remind me, Joe, and I'll dig into some of the sources that I've got to find out how that can be done. Okay, thanks Ian for sharing that. Let's get rid of these. Right, great. The next thing that I want to talk about is this business hierarchy of needs. Now, I'm sure quite a few of you have probably heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically a pyramid which shows what we as humans need as base needs. So the very bottom part of the triangle on Maslow's hierarchy of needs is oxygen, water, food. As human beings, we need oxygen, we need water, we need food. So we have to get that in place first. The next step then is about having shelter. Now, obviously, it's quite clear that putting a roof over your head is important, but having a roof over your head, but no food to eat, no water to drink, and the fact it's suffocating you is not the thing to do. So when you're looking at your business, what you need to do is identify what the vital things are that need fixing now. Okay, now you'll probably see behind me, I've got a certificate there from Mike Michalowicz, who's becoming a good friend of mine. I'm one of his certified advisors. And yeah, I want to put this up here, not because I'm trying to sell any program, because absolutely I'm not, but for you and your business, and to keep your business productive, keep your business on the right track, it's important that what you don't try and do is fix everything. Okay, now you might be working on various things, but what I want you to do is think about what you need to fix next. What's the big thing that needs fixing now? And of course, if you've got holes in your sales, then you're not going to generate the profit. You're not going to have the efficiency of order. So sales obviously mean bringing cash into the business. Okay, profit is about having that surplus. It's about having cash reserves. It's about building those cash reserves, which we should all be doing, particularly in these times. And it's very difficult when we haven't got things to pay out, but we should be setting aside things. And then order is about efficiency. So what I want you to do now, and this is a workshop type thing, I want you just to spend just 20, 30 seconds thinking about items in sales. Is it conversion? Is it leads? Is it getting prices sorted? What do you need to do? Is there a big hole in your bucket for sales that needs plugging? Okay. Then think about profit. What is it about our pricing? What is it about what we pay for our goods? Can you get better deals? There are some good deals to be had at the moment. Even I'm offering deals at the moment. So, there are efficiencies out there to help boost profit. And of course, order then is about how can we be more efficient in how we work? Can we, be more efficient from working at home? Can we do things differently? Can we do more automation? What can we do to be more efficient and improve that kind of productivity at that kind of level where we can deliver more with less? Because at the moment, in a crisis like this, as with the recessions, every business that came out of this with their head held high were the businesses who absolutely focused on delivering more with less resources, less input, more output, less input. Okay, so just take a minute now while I get a sip of tea and just get the throat lubricated a little bit. Just have a think about what you can do. Just make some note of what you can do first as you go up that hierarchy of needs. What needs fixing in sales? What needs fixing in profit? What needs fixing in order? And then what I can assure you is you need to start with the sales first. If you've got a hole in your bucket of sales, you need to fix that before you fix your hole in your bucket of profit or order. So just take a minute now and work through that. I'll just give you 20, 30 seconds to do that. Yeah, if you've got a team working remotely, do you need time tracking software? Is there an app that you can get that they can clock in and clock on at on the computer? I've got quite a few, even a construction client who uses something called Toggle, T-O-G-L, or T-O-G-G-L, to track all his labour. Doesn't use timesheets. He just literally has them logging in and out of where they are on their phones and their iPads and any other tablets. Of course, other manufacturers are available. So what do you need to do? Which things do you need to work on as a vital thing to work on? Is it cash flow? Okay. Is it getting finance? Just do a quick checklist of what the priorities are. And then once you've done that, what I want you to do while I get another sip of tea is circle the one that you can do something on in the next week. Is it about investigating and working through the flow process? Is it about putting some tracking for home workers? Is it about setting some key performance indicators to make sure that your efficiencies are being tracked and monitored? And we're going to talk more about these in the weeks ahead. Don't forget, if you've got some more questions, we've got another 30 minutes yet. If you've got any questions, I know a few people have got to drop off after an hour, but if you've got any questions, please put them in the questions and answers box. Okay, I've got to trust that you've done that. I can't see you, so I trust that you've done that. If you've got something that you'd like to share with the rest of us of what you have put down and what you feel that you need to be doing in the next week ahead, put your hand up and I'll happily have you share it with us, because it's really important we take benefit from sharing what we're going to do with other people that are in this group. So if you've got something, if you've written something down, and this is where I check that you have. By the way, if anybody's typing on their computer at the moment or they're answering emails, I do get a little clock at the side of you to say that you're distracted. So I can see those people who are getting slightly distracted at the moment. So if you've got something you want to share, please just put your hand up. If not, don't worry. We'll carry on. I can't see anybody putting their hands up there. Okay. Glenn, good to have you on here from Alan Signs. Didn't see you register for it, but I'm glad you've managed to join us. Okay. I think I've got everybody. I'm just going through attendees and just making sure I've added anybody on here who I couldn't do before. Okay, yeah, Kate, if you want to click unmute and just share something, that'd be good.
Yeah, I suppose in sales, I'd got down that I need to generate more leads, but also convert the existing leads that I've got.
Yeah. So the easiest pickings, I think, for all of us to remember is that we might already have opportunities in the pipeline. And you're absolutely right, Kate, to go to those, never assume, somebody once told me it makes an ass out of you and me, to coin a phrase, but don't assume that these people aren't going to make a decision to buy from you. You could actually be the lifeline that they need to succeed themselves. So yeah, absolutely. If you've got leads, if you've got opportunities, if you've got quotes proposals are out there, even if you've got people that you quoted for 6 months ago. I had a client who does vehicle crash repairs and vehicle servicing, and he went through, and people that had said no 6 months ago, he rang them up and said, look, I think things have changed. Just wondered if you did need our services now. You said you had your own department that service vehicles. And they said, no, absolutely, we need you. We've had to send everybody home. We've got no way of keeping our vehicles on the road. So you might not even think that somebody who said no before has a need now, but absolutely, Kate, go back to those old leads and reach out to them, see if they need you. Definitely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Somebody should put something in the chat box. Oh, Glenn, yeah, that's okay. We did talk about the recording being available, so I'll check that out with the University of Lincoln and see if that's able to be accessed to you. So that's good. Eric, you've taken yourself off mute. Was there something you wanted to ask or something you wanted to say?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
So we're predominantly R&D, and we chase investors as well for our research projects, predominantly. Yeah. There's been nothing mentioned with regards supporting those companies within the COVID-19, because it's, I guess, deemed as higher risk. But without innovation, we don't move forward. Any advice in that aspect?
Yes, it's interesting when you look at some of the criteria for some of the funding. It's amazing how most of agriculture is excluded. I was very pleased to see that my industry background, construction, is actually included. But I think sometimes these things aren't available through these processes because they assume, and it is wrong to assume, they assume that there are other pots of money still available. So what they're trying to do is give people access to funding, access to support for those who don't normally have that kind of access to support. And my suggestion would be that if there is anybody who has funded innovation, helped you out in the past, or has access to that, any institutions, any associations, reach out to them, because what you might find is that other monies are being channeled. So the local enterprise partnerships, for example, have different funds of money. Universities have different funds of money. The university fund that you've all accessed today is not something that is on any government websites. It's come by using a different pot of money. So reach out to local associations, local groups. Certainly University of Lincoln is a great resource. I tell everybody when they're looking for things like this, speak to Charlotte. If anybody knows what's available, Charlotte will. Speak to your Chamber of Commerce, speak to your federations, speak to your associations, and speak to people in the past, because these other funding providers that are outside the government help are still there, and they will get help from the government, but it'll be done through a different channel. Does that make sense? I hope that helps. But reach out, ask as many people. If you don't ask, you don't get. So keep asking.
Yeah, I think they're sick of me at the moment. But yeah.
Is there anybody in particular that you think should be sort of helping? Is there anybody that you've approached that have said no that you think they should have said yes?
I'm pausing for thought, because it's the main people that say no are Innovate UK, but that's part of the process. I do have a badge of honour where Innovate have paid for a research project that we did with another university.
Right.
But yes, I am working with Lincoln University and others.
Yeah, and
I just thought it's one of those. I asked you. Yeah, you might have heard something that I haven't heard at the moment. So it's
no. It's keeping your ear to the ground with them. And what I tend to do, Eric, is sign up for lots of different newsletters. So think outside the box a little bit. Are there, for example, if it's innovation and it might have some kind of obscure link to manufacturing, or it might have an obscure link to agriculture, then keep an eye on those industries. Sign up to their newsletters, their sort of keep an eye on what's happening on their forums. And it's just been look on the fringes a little bit more. Certainly in the past, when things have happened, in 2009, there was some really, really intangible connections that were made that you wouldn't think were, but it was those people who took advantage of them were the people who connected the dots earlier than the others. So, just look more on the fringes of it. And another good person that I would suggest you speak to, I don't know if any of it's import or export, but a good person who has an insight into things like this is Mike Stokes. You can find him on LinkedIn. If there's anything to do with UK trading and things like that, then he's a good resource to tap into as well. And it's finding those sources of information, like I mentioned with my relationship with the Bank of England and some HR companies and other things. It's finding those people who are connected more directly to those that you want to follow, connect with on LinkedIn, keep an eye on them, see what they're up to, because they're likely to be the first people to announce it. But other than that, no, sorry.
Thank you, Simon. And I've just connected with Mike Stokes on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Great.
Clear.
Yep. Mariah here has, or Maria, sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, going to contact my supplier from France to get a feel for what they have in place for their supply chain. Absolutely. So that's good. And I'm also going to come up with a client VIP package for 6-12 months. Yeah, if you can. I had a vehicle hire client of mine who supplies vehicles normally for 12 months plus, but their business started out with short-term vehicle hires of just 28 days. And he rang me up. In fact, he was one of the first ones to ring me up a couple of weeks ago. And woe is me, I've got cancelled vehicles, got 4 vehicles sat here that have cancelled orders. They've told me to keep my deposits. What do I do? And just by reaching out to people and saying, don't forget, we do short-term lease. So if you've got a contract hire car or a car that's got to go back and you're worried about being without a vehicle, we can actually get you in a vehicle with less commitment, no long-term contracts, 28 days plus. And within 48 hours, all those vehicles had gone out. So if you can create a different offering to your clients, something that lowers the risk, I would say you've got to lower the risk and increase the reward. If you can put a package together where they feel that you are more easy to buy from, you could offer them discounts for payment up front and things like that to help cash flow because we want to reduce our risk. So VIP package, absolutely perfect. Okay, Glenn, you've put a question here. Sales and admin teams are working from home and I've allocated tasks, including following up on leads and quotes, as Kate's just suggested. But the unknown timeframes we are experiencing would suggest reduced time for working from home to spread workflow over several weeks, as opposed to rushing to complete weekly. Okay, that's an interesting question. I think there's 2 sides to that question. Glenn, are you happy to be taken off mute? If you put your hand up, it'll bring you up to the top of my list. There we go. If you want to just click the unmute button. So just tell me which side of that question that you're thinking about. Is it about your team that are now taking too long to do things? Or is it the fact that you want to reduce the hours that you're paying them to work at home?
I want to keep them busy over the next couple of weeks, really.
Yep.
I've allocated them different tasks that are designed to be done over, obviously, several days and hours and things. But I've had a couple of emails back from 1 or 2 of the team, and they're saying they're being more productive at home than they are at work. Obviously,
that will help, won't it, in the future?
Yeah, it definitely will. Obviously, there's only a certain amount of things that we can do. Obviously, phones and inquiries are naturally going to slow down or reduce to a minimal quantity. So I don't want them to work 6-7 hours a day for the rest of this week and then have nothing to do. So would you recommend, say, actually just doing 2 or 3 hours a day just to continue that process over the next 2 or 3 weeks, just to keep a regular kind of workflow going, or let them work up and then try and devise other things for them to do? But obviously there's going to be certain limits that different people can and can't do from home.
So thanks for that. It's a really good question, and I'm going to give you a typical politician's answer. Answer it without answering it. I think the first thing to think about is how you pay them. So if you're paying them on a salary and you're not paying them for the time that they spend,
Yeah.
I would go with the latter and get them to do as much as they can in the time they've got, and then make a decision later on the line of whether you lay them off or furlough them, etc.
Right. Okay.
If you're paying them for the hours that they work, or you can shift them, because bear in mind, people can change contracts. Somebody mentioned earlier on a question, and I referred back to check to your contracts. There is now a time when you can change contracts. People are going to be more happy to change the terms and conditions in their contract now to keep their jobs than they ever had done before. So if you've got people who are on salary, Glenn, and I know some of these, so they're going to hate me for saying this, but if you've got them on salary and you want to start paying them for the hours that they work,
Yeah.
you can speak to them, get them to do it, ask them to do it, communicate with them, and then once you've done that, then certainly if I'm only paying people for the hours at work, I'd rather drip feed that in, because it's going to be better for your cash flow.
Yeah.
It's going to keep them more interested. It'll give them a better way of getting into the rhythm with what's happening over the longer period as well. So, yeah, I definitely consider that.
Yeah, obviously because the production and installation teams, we've obviously shut the doors on that element.
Yep.
So there is going to be limited things that we can actually do from a business perspective to get things out the door. So it might be that we work them to the bone for the rest of this month, and then, like say, 1st of April onwards, put them on the furlough until things kick back off again.
If they're on salary and not paid by the hour for what they do, then I would say that is the best choice that you could make. Yeah.
No, I think that's probably the way we'll go. So we'll. I'll crack the whip then for the next few days.
Yes, yeah. And it is, you don't know what that result that's going to have. I think the universe has a way of rewarding those people who push on. So, you never know how that's going to respond to the point where, you get them to be productive, and that productivity, that reward for that productivity might come back.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Thanks, Simon.
I think the one thing I would say, Clay, is what you should be doing and what we should all be doing, and this is really important, is letting everybody know and letting the world know that for us, we're trying to be business as usual. And for those of us who are doing really well and starting to get, blocks of time where we're running out, then tell people you're busy. The busier you are, the busier you can show people that you are, the more likely you are to pick more work up. And I know that's not that's normally the case, and we're in unique circumstances, but I think that's probably the best thing you could do, Glenn. But tell everybody else, that Alan Signs are still here, we're still productive, we're still answering inquiries, we're still able to do work that you want us to do. We're here for when you're out of this, and just keep making noise. Because there are a lot of people out there sticking their heads in a bucket of sand and hoping it's all going to go away. And then when it comes out, they'll just be able to come out of the bunker, and people aren't going to remember them. People are going to remember the people that helped them and that were there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's an opportunity to be proactive and positive over the next, couple of weeks. And it's just getting things prepared both within our business and for customers, so that when people can push the button, we can hit production installations and get back out there.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks for that. And it's good to speak with you, Glenn, as well.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just mute you up there. Okay. So I'm going to just have 5-10 minutes on the final thing on my list here, and we'll answer any final questions just before we hang up. Many of you might have seen, I've been talking on social media recently. I'm just going to see if I can share screen here. And unfortunately, this is not a productivity program branded document or anything like that, but I want to share it with you because I think it's important for us all to take a look at. I'm just going to see if I can make it a bit bigger. So Donald Miller and a couple of other business people quite some time ago created something for the last economic crisis, and they called it a recession response plan. Okay, and this is for small businesses, and it's things to think about. And I know some of the people on here aren't quite so small, but I think that the process is still the same. And the one I wanted to talk through today because it's the most important one for us at the moment, is cash flow. You know, what we have to do, and I know, you know, this is slightly patronizing by even saying this, but common sense is quite often avoided. We need to reduce cash out, and we need to increase cash in. Okay, so if we're going to get through this and we're going to survive and even thrive, cash flow is really, really important. So the first thing to do is look at ways you can reduce your cash flow. And as I'm talking through these, what I want you to do is write down ways that you think, things that come to your mind that you can do to reduce cash flow. So the first thing on here is cancel no or low cost benefit expenses. Look through your subscriptions. I did this with a client last week, and he went through his bank statements and he found £300 a month that he was paying in subscriptions that he no longer used and he thought he'd cancelled. So go through your bank statements, cancel any no or low cost benefit expenses. If it's not a benefit to you, then cancel it. Now, if it is a benefit and it's a vital thing to your business, obviously you're not going to cancel it, but it's those no or low cost benefit expenses. The other thing, and business owners aren't going to like this, but think about your own personal expenses from the business. What could you reduce? What could you cancel that perhaps you take from the business? You know, perhaps you've got a gym membership that you do through the business that's a personal expense. Perhaps you could cancel that, but just go through, and there's no inland revenue on this, I believe, but you know, any expenses that you put through, you know, because we're business owners, have a look through and see which of those you can cut from that list. The other thing to do is renegotiate terms with required recurring and one-time expenses. So if you've got leases, if you've got contract hires, if you've got equipment that have anything, reach out to people and ask them for payment holidays. Ask them for either complete payment holidays or reduced payments. You'll be amazed how many of them will actually help you out. And of course, this is probably the most difficult one. Seek new terms and extensions with vendors and suppliers. Now, I talked before about getting rid of employees, and some people that you think perhaps are a bit near to the breadline, they might actually have more money in the bank than you know. And it's the same with your suppliers. Don't assume that your suppliers won't help you. They're more likely to be doing the same thing and trying to get as much money out of you as they can, but ask anyway. You know, if they want to keep their relationship with you, the likelihood is they will do something about that. And the final thing is then to look at ways you can increase cash flow. But before I do that, just think about ways that you can reduce cash out at the moment. Yeah, have you gone through all your expenses? Have you looked at all your subscriptions? Have you looked at what you personally could take less of? Have you looked at all the agreements that you have for finance, for loans, for credit cards that perhaps you could go and renegotiate, add a payment holiday back onto the end of it? Rent. I had somebody the other day who was just amazed when I said, just ring your landlord up and just ask them, can you go half price rent for the next 6 months? And they did. They gave it them. And they were just gobsmacked. Never even thought. So you don't get unless you ask. So write down any things that you can do to reduce your cash out. The other thing then to do is look at ways you can increase your cash flow. Now, both of these are really important now, but actually, if you haven't been doing this kind of thing on a regular basis, then shame on you, because as a productive business and as a business that is looking to grow, looking to scale up, I work with a lot of scale-up businesses. You know, these are basic things that you should be doing on a regular basis. Yeah, look after the pennies and the pounds, look after themselves, you know, cut your cloth accordingly, all that kind of thing. Yeah, looking at cash flow is king, and you need to make sure you've got that cash in the bank. So what can you do to increase cash flow? So of course, you can look at making sure that you examine existing loans. You know, can you get more from people? Can you perhaps draw down different funds? You know, you might have an allowance, for example, a particular credit limit that you haven't used yet. You don't need a new facility, you just need to use the facility that you've got. You can look at refinancing. So one thing I would say when I mention this, if you are going for any of these business interruption loans, I was given very clear instructions by the banks the other day that they will not provide finance to refinance other loans that you've got. Now, whether you do that or not is a different thing, they told me. But if you put that down as a reason for wanting finance to reduce your interest payments and things like that, then that's not going to work. You're not going to get it. But you should look at, you know, are there 0% credit cards out there? You know, can you get some cash discount for getting payments in earlier? I had a guy the other day who wanted £30,000. It's not due to the end of April. And he said, if I give you a 5% discount, when will you pay me? He said, it'll be in the bank at the end of today. Those kind of things. Can you do invoice discounting to get that kind of money in? Use what you can afford strategy as well. So look at your clients and think about those that are at risk. Just keep an eye on those people you're working with to make sure that they're not going to default on the amounts that you're owed by them. Okay. And the guy who actually wrote this, Mike Michalowicz, he's got a book called Profit First. And first thing he says is don't change your profit first percentages. The important thing from a cash flow point of view is, as cash comes in, make sure you're setting it aside for taxes. All these inland revenue and VAT, they're not letting you get away for tax. All they're doing is deferring it to a later date. So make sure you're putting the money to one side so that you can pay your taxes. Make sure you're putting your profit away to build up that cash reserve that you're going to need. If you're generating business now, as some of you probably are, but that's likely to take a downturn, then take profit away from the income that's coming in and set it aside to hold a cash reserve as well. So think about cash flow. Reduce cash out, increase cash in. Again, take a moment. What can you do? What can you do to increase your cash into the business? Because that cash flow through your business will be vital for getting through all this as well. Okay, I'm going to leave that up a moment while I just finish off and see what other questions that we've got here. So Glenn, I've answered yours. Malcolm, I'm running a small printing business specialising in membership cards for health clubs. They have all closed, but will restart at some point. I was thinking about a discount orders placed within the month. Or is this just a blunt instrument? Any better ideas? I think it is a blunt instrument, but I think that's a good thing. So Malcolm, what I would do is, as we talked about earlier on with VIP packages, if you can get working, if you can get them, if they are cash rich, or they can see that things are going to get better and they're willing to take advantage of the offers that you've got, do it. Definitely. Just be aware of the discount, make sure you're getting profitability. And the other thing is, when you produce these membership cards, how can you produce them more efficiently? How can you cut your costs? So I don't mind discounting, but I think you've got to discount by being more efficient so it doesn't affect your profits. The other thing, you ask about any better ideas, rather than discount, what can you give them more? Okay, have a think about, do a bit of brainstorming about what added value can you add so that if you place an order now, you get this, plus you get that. And I know people are going to probably hate me for saying this, but Viking, the stationery guys, they do these little gifts that if you order a certain amount, you get a gift. When I first set up in business, I had a lady in the office and she would order huge amounts of stationery just to get the gift. So what can you give them extra that helps them place the order? I don't know what you can do with that, Malcolm, at all, but that's certainly something that you need to have a think about. I'll come to your question in a minute, Paul, as well, because that's a really important one. Malcolm, I can't remember if you said you were able to be taken off mute. If you do want to be taken off mute, just talk about that. Just put your hand up, just click the little hand up button and I'll take you off of mute. Perfect. Right, so there you go. Malcolm, yeah.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thanks for that information. It's quite useful. We make very good profits, be embarrassing to say, but
that's
very
good.
high profit. So we can afford to give some away. It may think about what you've just said. It may be better, in fact, to actually increase the volume of cards we provide, rather than actually reduce the price. Because that's going to be a better option thinking about it than what I was originally thinking.
And I think what you need to do, Malcolm, is you need to tell them why.
Yeah.
So if you just increase the quantities and just say, you could get X for Y, but now you can get 2X for Y, that kind of thing, that's okay. But you've got to explain to them why you're proposing that. So if you sell them the story of, look, we know you're in lockdown at the moment, but people are going to be frustrated. They're going to be pent up. They're going to be overweight. When all this finishes, you are going to have an influx of new members.
Absolutely.
So your normal level of cards are not going to be sufficient. So if you want to take value by getting extra quantity for the same price, now's your time to do it.
I think that's absolutely right. Well, thank you for that. I agree with you. I think that's where we go.
Yeah, tell them the reason, definitely.
Oh, thank you, Simon.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, Paul asked a really, really important question. If I can come back to it. Any options for rates relief for companies that do not qualify for rate relief currently? Not getting any help from the government? Yeah, absolutely. This is a very, very easy one. And I told a friend of mine about this yesterday, and they have instantly can't believe that it's given them £10,000. So those of us who pay rates, business rates, there are various levels at which the government give rate relief. For some hospitality, retail sectors, obviously they're getting their rates reduced to zero. The main thing with people who don't pay rates is that if you have a premises, and I'm talking about a business premises, even if it's a shared office space. So if you're a tenant in Spark House or Enterprise in the university, as long as you're not a virtual tenant, so you actually have to physically have a place of work. It also doesn't apply if you work from home, unfortunately, as I'm doing now. But if you have a place of work, my advice is to ring your local authority. Even if you don't pay rates at the moment, the thing is they won't have your bank details. So different local authorities are saying different things. Some are saying you're going to get a letter automatically anyway, but that's great, but they don't have your bank details to pay you the grant. So you can get up to, and I think actually it now has, it was rumoured to be 3,000 to 10,000, but I think it's now just £10,000. Just because you don't pay rates doesn't mean you won't get the help. The pub that a friend of mine knows, they didn't have any rates. They don't pay rates because of the size of the pub. And she rang up and the local authority said, yes, you will be eligible and you'll get a letter from us. Can you please fill this form in? Some authorities are sending people online to fill forms in, but ring your local authority, ring the business rates department at your local authority. And again, if you don't ask, you won't get. So it's really important to ask the question of your local authority. And you should, if you have a premises, get something, definitely. Okay, we've just about run out of time. We've come to the end of it. If any of you've got any other questions, please very quickly put them in the question and answer box, and I will carry them forward to next time or answer them by email. As part of the program, I'm happy to answer any emails that you send through. We'll try and work out how that goes through the university and how we illustrate that, because obviously this is a funded project. It's funded by the European Regional Development Fund, Midlands Engine, and obviously funded and supported by Lincoln University. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you all. I hope you've liked the format of being able to ask questions, go through some content, and we're going to ramp up the content in the weeks ahead. So we're going to work more on your vision and your goals next week. And then we're going to talk more about strategic plans. And of course, we're going to make sure that you are increasing your productivity and that you are being held accountable to get things done, and we'll make sure that you're doing your goals. Thanks, Neil, for thank you. All of those of you who have come off of mute, thank you. I don't know if any of you have ever done that before, but that's good. That's great. And thank you to Charlotte and to Kate and the team at Shooting Star PR for getting this up and running. You know, we had nearly 50 people. Charlotte asked me the other day if we didn't get anybody registered for this, could we knock it into next week? So I can't believe that we've had so much of a response and so much encouraging attitude towards this as well. So help each other, be safe, stay positive, and make sure that your business continues to be as lean and as efficient and as productive as it can, as long as it can, and take advantage of everything that's on offer to you and keep your ear to the ground. Keep an eye on Lincoln University or University of Lincoln Facebook. Keep in touch with them. And they will certainly have all the latest news articles and updates, etc. as well. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to draw it to a close now. Somebody just put something in the chat box. I'll just see what that is. Oh, right. Okay. Thank you very kind. No, I am amazed, Kate. You've done an amazing job. Okay. Great. And I'll see you all same time, same day next week. And we'll just have a little bit more focus on working out vision and goals and moving that forward, as well as answering all the questions as much as we can. See you all soon. Bye for now.